Hi there. Welcome to Thursdays at Home, a weekly live streamed hour of performances, readings, and more from IU students, faculty, and staff, brought to you by the IU Arts and Humanities Council. My name is Anna Groover, and I'm a council intern and your host this evening. Singing and dancing and creating music and writing and all other forms of creative activity are always important, but they're even more important right now when we're all physically distant from each other. So we're glad you can join us to celebrate these artistic practices in many different forms. Tonight, you'll be hearing from poet and English professor Cathy Bowman, costume designer and theater professor Linda Pisano, guitarist and Jacobs graduate student Peter Pendowski, photography professor Elizabeth Claffey, and student improv group Midnight Snack Comedy. Let's get started. Our first guest is Cathy Bowman, an award-winning poet and professor of English at IU Bloomington. She was recently named a provost professor and recipient of the Tracy M. Sonneborn Award for outstanding research, creative activity, and teaching. This evening, she will be sharing a few original poems with us. Welcome, Cathy.
Hello. Thank you very much, and thank you to the IU Arts and Humanities Council for putting these great programs together and for everybody that's working on this. I'm going to read 2 poems tonight. Well, I'm going to read actually 3 poems, 2 love poems. And the love poems are for all of you, for everyone during our time of social distancing in the pandemic. So the first one is called 1,000 Kisses. Kisses, rowdy, operatic, squealing, solemn as a wolf, guarding sheep as sheep, guarding the wolf. Newborn kisses cast like milk teeth across prairie and marsh, whereby blooms every variety of longing. Epic, colossal, tiny toy kisses kept in the vest pocket, wizened, rubbed down to a worry bead by the thumb and pointer. Budding, hypertrophied kisses, engrossed and fat. Polyphonic, urbane, hot, homespun, corn-fed, neighborly kisses. Half-blind, mole-eyed, one-eyed, moon-eyed, watching the sunset behind the Walmart parking lot kisses. Divinatory, shamanistic, locating missing items, resourceful in every dodge, deep and advantageous. Blue chlorine by the pool kisses. Revolutionary kisses sent straight from the Che Guevara chocolate factory. Computerized, crew cut, button down the front, vast storehouses of information, performing calculations far beyond human capacity. Superstitious, born on Friday, never striking the same place twice. Marathon rhyming kisses while rolling in the straw, the taste of baklava, the air kiss tatas, the infant's demita, the cup that holds the cross your heart nursing bra, the kiss that fills you with awe, the one that sticks to your craw, que sera, sera. Soundproof, bulletproof, bomb-proof kisses, little shrapnels of love, phantom kisses, a liquid afternoon glaze on the window's transparency. Willowy, barnacled, tossing and turning under the pier, predatory, stealth-like, gliding through memory, and covering the mouths every bluff and betrayal. Martyred, hung on the rack, convulsed and crucified, corruptive, pompous, bionic, cast iron, robust, industrial strength kisses. Soft as the inside of an eggshell, the buttons on an intricate waistcoat, dueling kisses. Picked in season, glowing in the back of the closet in a jar of cheap vodka and sugar, covert, ironic, empty and ain, shy, amorphous, greedy kisses. Blossoming, swollen, cumulus clouds, ragged, flat stratus sheets, forming in waves, feathery cirrus twists and tangles, kissing the ground, the vines, clay and dirt. This is the final kiss, the day the ground kisses you back. The next poem I'm going to read goes out to everyone out there that's listening. Thank you for coming. Thanks for listening. And it's called I Want to Be Your Shoebox. I got the title from reading a Smithsonian recording CD box liner notes that said that Memphis Minnie's classic blues line, I Want to Be Your Chauffeur, was miscopied in an early Folkways recording song transcription as I Want to Be Your Shoebox. I want to be your shoebox. I want to be your shoebox. I want to be your Fort Knox. I want to be your equinox. I want to be your paradox. I want to be your pair of socks. I want to be your paradise. I want to be your pack of lies. I want to be your snake eyes. I want to be your bridge of sighs. I want to be your moonlit estuary. I want to be your day missing in February. I want to be your floating dock dairy. I want to be your pocket handkerchief. I want to be your mischief. I want to be your slow pitch. I want to be your fable without a moral. Under a table of black elm. I want to be your Indiana morel casserole. Your drum roll, your trump roll. I want to be your biscuits. I want to be your business. I want to be your beeswax. I want to be your milk money. I want to be your Texas apiary honey. I want to be your Texas honey. I want to be your cheap hotel. I want to be your lipstick by Chanel. I want to be your secret passage, all written in Braille. I want to be all the words you can't spell. I want to be your international house of pancakes. I want to be your reel after reel of rough takes. I want to be your Ouija board. I want to be your slumlord. Hell, I want to be your maid to order smorgasbord. I want to be your Audubon. I want to be your Autobahn. I want to be your Chinese bug radical. I want to be your brand new set of radials. I want to be your old time radio. I want to be your pro and your con. I want to be your Sunday morning ritual. Demons be gone. Your constitutional, your habitual. I want to be your tinker toy. Man, I want to be your best boy. I want to be your chauffeur. I want to be your chauffeur, your shofar. I want to be your go for, your go far, your offer, your counter offer, your 2x4, your union coffer. I want to be your out and indoor. I want to be your song, daily, nocturnal. I want to be your nightingale. I want to be your dog's tail. And the last poem I'm going to read for you all this evening, this lovely April evening, is called Heart. Old Fang in the boot trick, 5-chambered asp, pit organ and puff adder can live in any medium save ice. Charmed by the flute or the first thunderstorm in spring, drowsy the heart stirs from the cistern, the hibernaculum, the wintering den of stars. Smells like the cucumber served chilled on chipped blue willow. Her garden of clings, sugars, snaps and springs and strings. Her creamy breasts we called pillows. Her bird legs and fat fingers covered with diamonds from the mines in Africa. The smell of cucumber, her mystery roses. Heading out Bandera to picnic and pick corn, the light so expert that for miles you can tell a turkey vulture from a hawk by the quiver in the wing. Born on April Fools, died on groundhogs, he pulls over not to piss, but to blow away any diamondback unlucky enough to be on the road between San Antonio and Cotulla. Squinting from the back of the pickup into chrome and sun and shotgun confection, my 5 boy cousins who love me more than all of Texas and drink my spit from a bottle of Big Red on a regular basis know what the bejeweled and the gun loading have long since forgotten. And that is, snakes don't die, they just play dead. The heart exposed to so many scrapes, bruises, burns, and bites, sheds its skin, sprouts wings and flies, becomes the 2-for-1 sparkler on the 4th of July, becomes what's slung between azure and cornfield, the horizon. If you don't believe it, place your right hand on it for the pledge, like you've been taught. Feel the hearing so deep, limbless and near limbless, prefers the ambush to the hunt, sets a trap, picks a spot, begins the vigil, resorts at time to bluff and temper, swallows victims whole, tastes like chicken, tastes like hope, memory, and forgiveness. Thank you all so much for listening. Love you all so much. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your lovely poems, Cathy. If you're just tuning in, this is Thursdays at Home. For more performances, virtual gallery tours, and other great online content from the Arts and Humanities Council and our friends across campus, check out the link in the comments to visit the virtual A&H page on our website. Our next guest is Linda Pisano. Linda is a costume designer, professor, and chairperson of the IU Theater, Drama, and Contemporary Dance Department. Her designs have been featured in numerous productions around the US, Canada, and the UK, and several of her ballet designs continue to tour through those countries. Her presentation tonight is titled Creating a Character's Closet, Costume Design Sketching for Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Welcome, Linda.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks to the Arts and Humanities Council for having me here tonight, and thank you for supporting the arts and humanities, especially during this time. Well, it is a truth universally acknowledged that costume design is an awesome job, and so I feel really grateful to have that position. Costume design is exciting for many reasons because clothing is so incredibly personal to us. Everyone, no matter what they say, thinks about their clothing. They think about it every day according to the climate, the temperature outside, the job they have to do. Is it clean? Is it on my floor? All kinds of reasons. And costume design is no different than designing for ourselves. Each character has to have a biography, and that's what costume design does. We also, as costume designers, have to think about something else, especially when we're designing something like ballet or dance or a large chorus scene for musical theater or for opera. And that is the overall ensemble and the overall aesthetic of the approach of the production. What I'm going to share with you today is a part of my process, which I find one of the most instinctive and therefore the most exciting parts of what I do. And that is the quick, rough sketch. So as a costume designer, I have to go through the score, the play, I have to think about the biography of the characters, I have to think about the movement of the characters and the overarching story that the director or choreographer is telling. And then I have to do a lot of research about the script, about the characters, and about the time period or the abstraction of the time period in which is going to be set. And one of the first things I do after I finish or really get deep into that research is I do these thumbnail sketches, really rough sketches. And so I'm going to share with you an example of how I do that. And so if you look here, we're going to look at Elizabeth Bennet. Now, Elizabeth Bennet is, I have to think about her socioeconomic class at the time period, which was late 18th, early 19th centuries in England. She is an avid reader. She loves walking miles in the mud. She is very down to earth, very realistic. And she certainly is a great narrator for the type of work that Jane Austen and the thoughts that Jane Austen has. So right now I'm looking at something from the Regency period. And so I know that I have to have something that's probably made of linen or a muslin. And there's a lot of politics involved in clothing at this time. If you think about the colonization and where these fabrics were coming from and how they were made, but also in terms of gender and social class, they identified the stratification of these various groups of individuals and gender. And so the train on this dress in this sketch is a little longer than I would put on Elizabeth Bennet, I think. But you can see the little modesty partlet around the neck. And this was one of the more comfortable times actually for the female because of the short corset. And even though it was probably very cold in the winter, if you imagine how lightweight these were. Now, if you know your Pride and Prejudice, you know that Mr. Collins was always looming around Miss Elizabeth Bennet. And so thinking about that relationship helps me to sketch out the character. So even though this won't be a full sketch of Mr. Collins, it gives me some indication of just to work out the psychology, because that has a lot to do with how I communicate with the performer and bring those to life. And speaking of the performer, I like to think about who's playing the role. So if I'm fortunate enough early on to know who's cast, because oftentimes the designers come in before the actors are cast, then I like to think about how they might be performing it. If I have an option to look through some of the work that they've done in the past, then I can have an idea of how they might approach it. But I will have a dialogue with the performer as well. And so it helps me to think through how they might play it. Now, Mr. Darcy, okay, the quintessential Mr. Darcy. He makes £10,000 a year, right? And he lives in an incredible home. And so he's going to wear the finest attire and accoutrement of the day. He is going to have the fine woolen frock coat. Now, he's not extravagant. I mean, that's an important part of the character, but he does have to live up to the lot that he was born into, which happens to be a very wealthy, titled British man in the 19th century. And so he would have this beautiful, well-tailored frock coat. He would have the finest tailors. He would have a watch fob, no wristwatch at that time. And what's unique at this time is we also have the riding boot. And the riding boot is now acceptable even in the most formal occasions at court or wherever. And remember, we have this time the Regency period in England with the Prince Regent, and the sartorial advisor for the Prince Regent was Beau Brummel. So if you like this sort of fashion of this time, you can really thank Beau Brummel for making it popular. The beautiful top hat, the dark woolen coat, and the breeches, and that very high collar of linen with a stock or cravat or a black solitaire tie. He would have certainly lapels and cuffs that were probably of velvet and a contrast. And so this is how I use pens so that I'm not erasing. Of course, we know that when we use pencil, we're often erasing and doing a number of corrections and trying to fix things. But what I need to do in these initial sketches is I need to get my visceral response about the characters, about the time period and the research. That's particularly important to me. A lot of times I get the question about, what is it that you do? And it really is creating the biographies and the history of these characters and trying to follow them with the director through the arc of the character and the arc of the story. That becomes a pivotal part. But I also, we're not recreating history. We're telling a story based in a time period. So we serve the story, we serve the characters' stories, and we serve, if it's opera, we serve the music, musical theater, dance, and so forth. But the great thing is that we can reach back in history and we can look at the visual research, but we can also look at really interesting things. So for example, I could learn a lot from the books that the tailor for Mr. Darcy, or a figure like Mr. Darcy in history, kept. They would have itemized everything. Elizabeth Bennet or her mother, had they been real historical figures, would have kept a detailed journal with swatches of all of their dresses and how they, reused, of course, and recycled these things over time. So the job of the costume designer is also exciting because one of the things that I love when children ask me about what a costume designer does, the reason it's the best job in the world is I draw pictures and they're brought to life. Now, I don't bring them to life. An amazing team of makers and tailors and milliners and cobblers and beaters and dyers and painters bring those to three-dimensional form. And then the performers bring them to life. They breathe the life into them on stage. It's a great and wonderful role, and I'm so grateful for that position. And so I'll tell you, though, these early rough thumbnail sketches are only a very, very small part of the job. There's a tremendous amount before those little sketches, and now I have to go into the big sketches and the painting and the shopping fabric, and it's a very hard job. Anyway, I thank you so much for allowing me to participate and to give you a little bit of how you might create Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy.
Thank you, Linda. I will be immediately turning on Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 version, of course, after the show finishes tonight. If you're just tuning in, this is Thursdays at Home. Welcome. Keep an eye on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram feeds every Friday for What a Week, a curated digest of the coolest online content from around IU Bloomington. Our next guest is Peter Pendowski. Peter is a guitarist and graduate student in the Jacobs School of Music, working toward a Doctor of Music. He has played electric guitar with various groups, including the IU Singing Hoosiers, the Daniel Nix Big Band, and Bloomington Beat Show Choir. He also teaches ukulele and bass guitar. Tonight, he'll be sharing a few guitar pieces with us, and he'll be joined by his father and brother for his third and final song. Take it away, Peter.
Thank you. I just want to make one quick note. I'll play 3 songs today. And in the first song that I'm going to play, it's a Spanish piece, rather. And I want you to listen, if you're tuning in, for a familiar tune. If you know what the Nokia tune is, actually, it was taken from this piece. And I guess stolen or quoted, whatever you want to say. So without further ado, here is Grand Vals by Francisco Tarrega. Thank you. And next, I'll be playing the song Till There Was You, as made famous by the Beatles, actually. Thank you. For the next song, actually, I'm going to invite my own father and brother, biological brother, and they're going to play a song with me, actually, and I'll switch over to electric guitar. So let me go grab them, and I'll be right back. Okay. This is Moonlight in Vermont. Thank you, guys. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks for that wonderful performance, Peter, and your family too. If you're just tuning in, this is Thursdays at Home. Join us here on our Facebook page every Tuesday evening for quarantine conversations as Indiana University faculty members confront COVID-19 from a wide range of disciplinary perspectives in the arts and humanities. Our next quarantine conversation is Tuesday, April 28th at 8 p.m. and we'll cover the topic social life and its negation. Check out the link in the comments for more information. Our next guest is Elizabeth Claffey. Elizabeth is an assistant professor of photography at IU Bloomington and a research fellow at the Kinsey Institute. Tonight, she's inviting us into her home studio, discussing the foundation of her practice and sharing some new and developing work. At the end, she will also answer 3 audience-submitted questions. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Here you are in my basement. It doesn't look like a basement, but my partner worked really hard to make sure that it wouldn't. This is my home studio. And since the quarantine began, I've spent a lot of time down here. So I'd love to show you around a little bit and tell you a little bit about myself. So as you know, I'm an assistant professor of photography, and some of the major threads that run through my work are identity, kinship, issues of the body. I'm particularly interested in the way familial stories of birth, death, illness, and recovery shape daily life. And I love to bring visibility to invisible experiences and make public space for private stories. I also love to explore the mundane objects and experiences that tell truths of deep impact and intimacy. So I'm gonna walk you around really slowly to show you. Okay, so this is the clean side. This is where I hang work and experiment with different processes. And I wanna be real with you and share the truth. So this is the not so tidy side. This is where I keep my collection, and I do a lot of work with these mundane objects that I collect from my mother, my father, my sister, my brothers, my children, my partner, my in-laws, and anybody else who will donate. So now I'm going to turn you back around, and I'm going to walk you over to my second nook, which is right back here. And this is where I do a lot of processing of images and writing and emailing and thinking and having my coffee. Okay, so I'll bring you back over here. Set you down. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to do after my little tour is share a new body of work with you. So I'm going to take over your screen if you don't mind, and I hope it works. Fingers crossed. Okay. Okay, so I hope you're looking at an image. This new body of work is called Darkness and Nothing More. And it began as a nightly practice of photographing my children while they slept. I saw it as an extension of another ongoing project, The Ordinary and the Domestic, in which I used a nanny cam to video record them as they fell asleep and further into the night. While that video, oh, excuse me, having a little trouble. Okay. While that video project looks more closely at the darker side of technology, consumerism, and motherhood, this current project grew to be more playful while still embodying the complexities of the nighttime landscape. Both projects investigate the social pressure to constantly watch one's child. I find myself parenting during a time of fear and judgment. In order to be a good mother, I must watch every moment. I am responsible for every breath. And oftentimes that means ignoring other senses or instincts. As I dive deeper into this project, though, it became about visualizing our mutual obsession with each other. The complexities of that obsession and the rituals performed to enforce it fascinate me. The familial labor and love that happens at night is incredibly intimate, and moving through darkness is an excellent metaphor for parenthood itself. Nighttime is when the heart rate slows, body temperature drops, and our mammalian instincts for physical closeness heighten. The sensory longing for touch, the compression of another body, is what often wakes my children in the night and has us all moving through the dark to find one another. I know every creaking floorboard, each wall and door that separates us. But like motherhood, there are always elements I can't control, memorize, or see. These things are often left behind by my children. Rocks strewn about, toy cars lining the hallway, a ribbon tied around a doorknob. I photograph these still lives like they are clues to a larger mystery. Evidence or communication of a story nobody will tell. At times, our bodies become the surprise revealed in the night, because at this time of my life, we are body on body on body, performing gestures that bring our bodies closer to each other and eventually closer to ourselves, given the power of those gestures and movements to shape our identities. As the work develops further, I've started to turn my gaze toward my partner, because our intimacy is a major part of familial life. Mothers in particular are rarely allowed to express desire or sexuality. Returning to the expectations of a good mother, if we turn our attention away for a moment, something might go wrong. As my daughters get older, they have become nervous of nighttime. They too worry that something might go wrong. A mystery that is not their own might be lingering outside our door or in their closet. I tuck them in at night, promising to check on them and tell them to rest assured it's darkness and nothing more. Okay, so I hope you see me again, and I hope you saw my images during the reading of my statement for darkness and nothing more. So while we're here, I'm going to tell you a little bit also about the works that I have going on in progress, because while I have been shooting a lot at night, photographing my children and my partner, these days with very little time to myself, my partner and I both work, and we have 2 young daughters, ages 2 and 5. I'm pretty exhausted by 7 p.m. So what I've really been doing lately is spending a lot of time with the objects that I have in my studio. And since I don't have access to the equipment that I usually use at school, I've really actually been letting go of image making. And so I've been kind of building these small kind of constructed scenes with the objects that I have, and they are all working together in conversation. In this one behind me, I do feature 2 Polaroid images that I took, one right before the birth of my second daughter and one right after the birth of my second daughter. And then over here to my left, you can see this is a piece in progress. This is a prototype for a piece called Threshold, which will actually be heading, hopefully, to the Turchin Center for the Arts in May. Hoping that everything that we are able to have access to the things that I need in order to ship. I'm sure we will. So Threshold is imaged blood from the birth of my second daughter. I tend to capture experiences in this way in order to reflect on them later on. So shortly after my daughter was born, I took computer paper and I soaked up all the blood splotches that were kind of surrounding my body and hers. And this is one of those splotches, for lack of a more elegant word. And then I've made the image much, much larger through scanning it and printed it onto silk panels, which then are stitched together and hung from a rod. And the silk will overflow onto the floor and pour forth. And so the other thing that I'd like to share with you about that is I'm interested in creating a kind of connection between birth and death. And so this kind of evidence of a birth could be that, or it could also be evidence of a loss of life. So I showed you around my studio a little bit, and I asked for a few questions prior to tonight's conversation because I just thought it would be fun to crowdsource a little bit and see what people are thinking about and asking each other. So one of the first questions that I got, are you embarking upon a new artistic project in response to this, being COVID-19? And how do you stay inspired? I kind of combined 2 questions because the second one was one that I got quite often. So for me, it's the experience that serves as inspiration. I tend to work very closely through observation of my own personal experiences or through the stories of others in order to kind of reveal them in public spaces. So I am recently recovered from having the coronavirus. I was really sick for about 3 weeks, and it was very it was very typical in the way that it presented. So I had flu-like symptoms, and I thought I was getting better. And then after about a day of feeling on the up and up, it hit my respiratory system. And so I was really fortunate. I had a very moderate case. I was able to stay home in order to get well. But one of the things that it really did for me was call upon my great aunt Catherine, who died of emphysema when I was in high school. And a lot of my work has to do with kind of calling upon my ancestors. I like to be in conversation. I like to be in a cross-generational conversation, even with ancestors that I've never met. You know, I've never met either of my grandfathers, but they both play a role in the stories that I make and put into my work. And so I've never actually made a piece about my Aunt Catherine, but I have very vivid memories of her when I was 16, losing her breath and really struggling to breathe and needing oxygen. And so it was a really kind of incredible experience to be ill and to be in my room in isolation and to really find myself experiencing an intimate connection with her. So I imagine that that will certainly work its way into a piece or an installation in the future. And I really look forward with working on that. So I really, again, I call upon experience as material. The other way that I stay inspired is I take really long walks when I can, and I listen to music. I spend a lot of time dancing. Usually I get down to some music and I move my body around just to kind of get loose and feel the space and get some energy going. So another question that I received was, what are your daily creative practices? So this is a really great question. And I ask myself this every day because I'm not the best with routine. I'm really good at accomplishing certain things every day, but I do not have a set kind of routine for the order in which they will happen. And often it's at the end of the day in a complete panic because I'm about to, go to bed and I haven't gotten it done. So a couple of things that I find really important to do on a daily basis are write. So I do at least 10 minutes of free writing a day, which I do in my nook back there. And I turn off my phone and I close down my email and I sometimes put on my headphones so that I can't hear my kids upstairs. And I do a complete free association, right? And I find that that really gets my kind of creative energy open and vulnerable, and it helps my subconscious kind of present itself. So that's really valuable. And if I have no idea what I'm going to write about, sometimes I'll choose a picture and I'll put it at the front of my computer and I'll just start writing about that or free associating. Or maybe I'll write about somebody else's work if I've recently seen an image that really moves me or a body of work that really moves me. Or sometimes it'll just be like a journal entry in which I'll complain about my day or ask myself what I'm doing here. All important questions. So, okay, my last question. How has this period of quarantine further transformed your perspective on domestic life and motherhood that so informs your work? I really love this question because, when this all began, I had a really hard time believing that we were going to be in a pandemic and that it was going to have such a deep impact, but that, of course, quickly revealed itself to be true. And I have to say that I think motherhood in many ways really helped prepare me for this type of a situation because I've been balancing my artistic practice and motherhood and partnership for 5 years now, and they all really feed each other. So I don't try and separate those things. So I don't separate motherhood from this experience of isolation. And I've experienced isolation before for various reasons, of course, not to this extent or in this way. But there's a wealth of kind of experience to call upon and to integrate for further reflection. So I would also say I have not really, since my children's infancy, I have not had this type of kind of quality time to spend with them. So there's a lot of ups and downs. And simultaneously, those ups are really valuable. You know, we've been able to spend this time outside because of the beautiful weather. We do a lot of digging for worms. And it's really caused me to slow down and spend time observing them. I take those opportunities too to make work or to engage with my craft without the expectation of outcome. So oftentimes I go outside with my kids and I'll bring my Polaroid camera, or I'll bring a camera or a notebook, and I'll start taking notes. I observe things like light and contrast and color, things that I don't, you know, or nature, but things that I don't kind of traditionally focus on, because so much of my work is interior to the home space. So it's really, there are a lot of things that this experience disrupts, but there's also a lot of ways in which it's enriched my life and my artistic practice. And I think that that's true as we all kind of take this collective breath. I'm very privileged to be in a safe and happy home. And my concern is certainly with people who don't have that experience. So this is my studio, and those are my answers to your questions. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciate the Arts and Humanities Council for inviting me to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. That was such a rich discussion of your work and truly illuminating. If you're just tuning in, this is Thursdays at Home. Welcome. The student interns at the Arts and Humanities Council are sharing our perspectives on the arts and culture and life during the COVID-19 crisis. Find your reflections and recommendations at the link in the comments. Our final guest this evening is Midnight Snack Comedy, an IU Bloomington student improv group. They recently opened for comedian Ryan Niemiller at the Buzzkirk Chumley as part of the Arts and Humanities Council's Indiana Remixed Festival. Please be sure to laugh extra loud, as your laughs need to travel especially far for them to hear you. Welcome, Midnight Snack.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you so much, Anna, and to the whole Arts and Humanities Council for having us. As she said, we are Midnight Snack Comedy. We're so excited to be here. And we're going to be playing a little game for you guys tonight called The Dating Game. So in this game, Alyssa is going to be guessing 3 contestants and who they are. So we've got a celebrity on the panel, a fictional character on the panel, hello, and we've got a character with a quirk on the panel. So we got these suggestions from our Instagram page, and it was just totally flooded with amazing suggestions. So Alyssa's going to turn herself around, and we're going to show you who we will be playing. So we'll give it like 10 seconds. Okay, maybe not 10. Good.
And I'm hosting.
And Andrew is the host of the show, so let's kick it off.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Magic Michael Will Try and Fix You Up with Someone. I'm Eric. I'm filling in for Magic Michael, and with us today we have our lovely contestant. Her name is Judith. Judith, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Like he said, my name is Judith, and I am just so excited to be here today. It's kind of my last-ditch effort, this dating show. You know, I just got out of my 6th failed engagement, so I'm just really hoping that something sticks this time. So I'm just here looking for love, and I'm really excited to ask these contestants some questions.
You know, 7th time's the charm. Why don't we let them introduce themselves? Guys?
Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. I'm looking for something with heat, passion, spice. Good to see you, Judith.
Heat, passion, and spice. That is, wow, the 3 key things, I would say.
Yes.
Contestant number 2?
Hi, I'm just so excited to be here. You know, I'm really bored of all these old options. I'm ready to take a chance on love. I'm ready to take a chance.
Sounds about right. Contestant number 3.
Hello, my name is Clory, but people call me Phil. So I'm just really looking for that energy that I need.
Wonderful. Well, those are our contestants. Well, Judith, why don't you go ahead and ask them a question?
Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, but so excited. Everyone seems so lovely. I guess let's just start off really basic. Where would we go on a first date? You know, I feel like that's really important to me. So where would be a quintessential spot that you would want to show me or take me?
Contestant number 1.
Great question, Judith. You look beautiful. I would say we'd have to go to a 4-star restaurant, 3 Michelin stars. You would wear a dress and I would wear a nice sharp suit, maybe with a pocket square. We would eat the finest food, and if it didn't come on time, don't you worry, I will take care of it. Beef Wellington, both of us. Rare, in the middle, pink.
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet.
Yes.
Wonderful.
That is so kind of you. So you love food. You like food a lot?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Judith.
Fabulous. I enjoy a good meal.
Contestant number 2.
You know, I'm a simple man, despite what many people might think. I think we could just go take a nice stroll on the boardwalk, you know, just look around, maybe head down Park Avenue at some point if we're feeling it. But I think just something walking around, enjoying the sights.
Yes. Oh my gosh, long walks on the beach. That is what I put on every dating profile. I love that.
Wonderful. Contestant number 3.
You know, I really hate to be this type of person, but I'm going to say it. Anywhere in nature, but it has to be a perfectly sunny day. I really need just to soak it all in, and I think you do too. I especially just need that energy and all of those wonderful things that the sun can give.
Yeah, yes, you know, I have been looking to get a little bit more tan recently. I've been spending a lot of time indoors, so I totally understand that. Get some good vitamin D.
Vitamin D is right. All right. Judith, do you have a second question for our contestants?
Okay, yes, I feel like I need to get to know everyone a little bit more. So maybe instead of a first date, where would we go on a honeymoon? Something maybe lavish, or would you want to just spend some quality time together? What's the perfect kind of honeymoon?
Contestant number 1, perfect honeymoon.
Judith, a great question. I would say definitely Europe. I want you to be able to come back to where I have my roots. Maybe the countryside. We could hunt our own food, saute it, grill it, salt it, rare, medium, nice crunch, something like that. Bitter taste, more salt. Sorry, I just got carried away.
No, I'm really impressed. Have you ever heard of a panini, perhaps, or an idiot sandwich, maybe?
An idiot sandwich. Of course, I've heard of an idiot sandwich.
Gordon Ramsay, is that you in my presence?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you know, Gordon, I am a big fan of your work. I am so shocked that you're here. But unfortunately, I'm just too big of a fan of your shows and your work. I think we would have a little bit of an overlap for our relationship, so I just don't think it's going to work. I'm so sorry.
Are you dumb?
No, listen, sir. Just, I don't think it's going to work out for us.
I don't know what to say. Just.
I'm a big fan.
Gordon, don't be upset. Gordon? All right, we'll check in on Gordon in a little bit. Contestant number 2, perfect honeymoon.
Yeah, I when I tell you I've been saving up for this my whole life, I mean it. I mean, I have been saving up all my money. I'm going to take you. I own hotels and houses all over the place. All right, I'll take you to one of my homes. I'll take you. It'll be wonderful. Anywhere you can dream of, I probably own it.
Fascinating. So you have lots of money and you like places like Park Avenue and taking walks. Fascinating.
Absolutely.
I'll just have to come right back to you.
Man, you know, you really just own everything, don't you?
I own everything.
Literally everything in the world. Wow.
Absolutely.
All right, contestant number 3, perfect honeymoon. Also, Gordon, you doing all right?
I'm fine.
All right, contestant
I'm
number 3.
fine.
You see, I'm a very simple person. We don't even need food at our honeymoon. I promise you that. anywhere sunny, anywhere in nature, anywhere you can find a blade of grass. That's it. Simple. That's the way I like it, and I will not compromise.
You know,
So,
I recently encountered a photographer named Elizabeth Claffey who could probably photograph your wedding, your honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
that would be lovely. You just really enjoy the outdoors and the sunshine, don't you?
I do. Anything green.
Anything green.
Photos would be nice.
Fascinating. You know, I think I need to get to know them a little bit more, Eric.
You have another question for our contestants? A third question?
I do. I have a third question. You know, so like I said, I've had a lot of experiences with broken engagements. How do you take rejection? You know, if I were to break things off with you, what would your reaction be? I feel like that's something I need to know in a relationship. Personally, I take it very poorly, so need a little bit of balance there.
Absolutely. Contestant number 2, how do you take and handle rejection?
So I pretty much have gotten everything that I've ever wanted my entire life. I've worked hard, mind you, but I mean, you know, throw a couple of times getting out of jail free, you know, just, I never did anything bad. It's fine. You know, just really, I'm just going around trying to make sure that I do the right thing at the end of the day, but I don't deal with rejection because I've never experienced that before.
Right, because like you said, you own everything and you kind of have a monopoly over the whole situation.
That is the word. That's the word that I prefer.
Are you the monopoly man?
In the flesh.
Is that's your full God-given name? Wow.
That is, I changed it recently, yes.
Oh my gosh, you know, it's similar situation to Gordon Ramsay. I'm a big fan of your work, and I happen to play the board game Monopoly a lot, so I think starting an intimate relationship would cross some lines. So here's that rejection you were talking about taking so well. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Monopoly Man, don't make a face.
I can pay you.
Monopoly Man, don't beg.
I prefer real money. I'm so sorry.
Gordon, what are your thoughts on Monopoly Man begging?
I think he is in a word, an idiot. In a 2 words, idiot sandwich.
Well, wow.
So crass.
I think Judith is a witch. I think she's an evil witch.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to find love. So if we could hear from our nature lover, contestant 3, that would be fabulous.
Gordon says things like this to everybody. Don't be offended.
Well,
why don't we get to know our third contestant a little more? Contestant number 3, how do you handle rejection?
See, when it comes to rejection, I actually I like to turn to music. I do. You know, the piano where you can make those beats and it sounds all techno.
Yeah.
The synth.
Synthetic,
I love
synthetic sounds.
Yeah, I love to synthesize beats.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
So things that are not natural, actually, maybe they appear to be natural, but they're synthetic, like those beats.
You know, contestant number 3, like you, I really seem to derive energy from synthetic beats. I find myself on the dance floor with the photos, with the synth, and I just love it.
It's the only thing unnatural about me, I have to say.
You are quite the complex creature, aren't you?
It is actually very simple once you get to it.
It sure is. It's perhaps the most simple form of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
So you really hone in on one specific thing. Is that right?
Some would say. It's not the most important thing that I do, but it is one of the major things that I do. And
one time contestant number 3 and I went out to lunch. Big menu, big place. Didn't order a single item off the menu. Said, I'm stuffed.
I just stood outside.
That's all she needed.
Mm-hmm. So wow, you are quite the case. You know, I'm very intrigued by you.
I have a bone to pick with number 3.
Yes.
All right, Gordon, go ahead.
I had a lovely garden. England, many clouds. Nothing happened. What's up with that?
Well, you see, England is very overcast and very rainy a lot.
So why couldn't those plants grow? What process were they not?
Exactly. It was the process they were missing from the sun and the solar energy.
Something just stumbled upon me. I just have a quick question for you. Do you get your energy from photosynthesis? Do you photosynthesize?
Exactly, I do. I do photosynthesize.
Oh my gosh, considering you aren't a famous person and that's very intriguing, I feel like we're a perfect match. Would you like to get engaged?
Absolutely. Can there be no food at our wedding?
Absolutely no food at all sun-based.
And scene. So thank you. We're Midnight Snack. That was a lot of fun. We usually perform on Saturdays at IU, so hopefully you can catch us there next semester.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for all the laughs, Midnight Snack. It was great to see you guys here tonight. And thank you to all of our guests who joined us this week for Thursdays at Home. We're grateful for your time and devotion to your craft and your generosity in sharing it with our community. Thanks to all of our listeners too. It's been great celebrating the arts and humanities here with you tonight. Before we end tonight's show, here's an upcoming event to keep on your radar. Missing your regular dose of Shakespeare? Join IU Theater and Dance faculty and students in a live online reading of Shakespeare's As You Like It on Sunday, May 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Like Thursdays at Home, it'll be broadcast via Facebook Live on the Arts and Humanities Council Facebook page. We'll be back next week with another Thursdays at Home, 6 p.m. on our Facebook page. Keep an eye on our social media channels, where we'll be announcing next week's performers soon. Thanks for joining us, and have a great evening.